let's dive headfirst into the topic if we can, because it's an interesting one. Smart housing, I think we all pretty much have got an idea of what we know by smart housing at the moment. Millennial expectations, that's where we're going to take this one at the moment. So it's defining, first and foremost, I suppose, millennials, what they want, and then should we look further afield from the millennials, and after that to the next generation as well. So I know this is unfair, but it's ladies first, if that's okay, Sophia. So I'm going to start with you, because I want to get your take on our take on smart homes per se. Maybe you can kick us off with what you see to be the benefits of smart homes as we perceive them at the moment. From perspectives of facilities management, but also for the so-called millennial end users who might be moving in already or might be moving in a few years to come. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, my take on smart houses is giving an opportunity for people to have control, to have some intelligence in the buildings that they're living in. And I think expectations now, we're in a very technological world. People are expecting to have some level of control and for it to be real-time control, as well as access to information. So now, for example, in Dubai, you can see very clearly every month how much energy you're consuming and how much water you're consuming. And it raises questions as to why is that? Dubai, we are very scarce with water. In particular, I think we have around 10 centimeters of rainfall a year. But per capita, we are the highest users of water in the world. So I think this begs the question of understanding how our consumption works and giving some control for that. So from a facilities management point of view, having sensors that look at water quality, water pressure, leakage control, leakage detection allows wastage of water to be very closely monitored, but also allows us to integrate more active technologies in our domestic applications. So, for example, smart technology in the garden, irrigating in the morning before 8 a.m. That's something that we can do. It saves a lot of water, but we're relying on technology to do that. Also, we have very high cooling loads during the summer here in Dubai. A traditional AC system could be running all day long in a house where millennials are, by 2030 making up 70%, I think, of the entire workforce. So we're out of our houses for longer periods, and we're expecting higher levels of thermal comfort when we do get home. So smart technology allows you to have remote access and control as to what's happening in your home. I'm a mother. I have a smart thermostat connected to my Wi-Fi system. I can sit at home and make sure that my children are comfortable, their temperatures aren't too high. Also, if I was to leave Dubai for a few weeks, I can turn my aircon on remotely to control humidity and make sure none of my interior fixtures and fittings are being damaged by, humidity. So it's giving people that extra connection to the systems that are in their homes and the extra level of control and information that we didn't have before. Also, from a security perspective, if you're looking at remotely controlling your lights if you're out during the day, that's also something that's key, because if we're looking at reducing our energy consumption, being able to control lights, being able to control when you're not in the room, oh, I forgot, leave my light on. Yeah. You can just go onto your phone and quickly adjust that. There's multifaceted benefits for smart homes, and also connected with what the millennial users are expecting from their homes.
I just want to bring Eurus into the conversation if I can, because we've looked at it from a sort of facility management point of view and how that smart revolution can have its impact. I just want to get it from to kick things off from a sort of asset management portfolio point of view as well. I mean, smart housing, is it already affecting portfolios and how asset management strategies are put together?
In short, I think in Dubai and in the wider region, it has the potential to, but it's not making a revolutionary change at the moment. We tend to look at smart tech on two levels. One is the in-unit smart tech that a resident enjoys inside their home. So as already mentioned, you can control your thermostat through your phone, maybe your curtains, your fridge and other appliances, and that's mostly geared towards, I guess, home comfort, and to some extent resource and cost reduction with that. But what we look at when we talk about real estate portfolios, and I mean we're currently managing around 100 communities, 35,000 units. That talks about smart building systems, and most people in the UAE live in apartment buildings, and so the systems that operate those buildings, that is where the real opportunity is for smart tech to make a difference for a lot of the reasons already mentioned, for comfort, for security, for cost optimization. Now, within our portfolio, we do have some examples of smart tech. We've got some sensors going. They do smart things like warn us about flooding or excessive temperature or humidity. But I think that given the amount of technology out there for smart tech right now, how much of it is being deployed across this region, there's still a long way to go. And when we talk about millennials, we're talking about people who book their holidays on Airbnb, they order their stuff through Alibaba or Amazon, and now they're getting slowly into smart homes with Alexa and systems like that. But apart from you, I have to say I still don't know anyone who's hooked up their AC to the mobile phone. So I think there's some way to go, and the key to that will be, if we look in-house, the key to that is really having easy integration solutions that allow me to simply move into a new place and start controlling things through my phone. The moment that I have to start doing wiring and invest in an apartment that I don't really own, because like for example, a digital thermostat on its own is 250 dirhams to actually get and install. The same version with Wi-Fi is 1,000 dirhams. Yeah. So there's still most people are renters, they're not homeowners, so there's a high barrier to really getting the most out of the available home automation at present.
I think that was going to lead on to my next question to you, actually, Iris, which is this idea of the impact that it's going to have on cost, on bottom line, be that on rental cost, be that on sales cost. We heard a little earlier from Oberlin talking about the fact that millennials are demanding greater efficiency, they're demanding greater convenience as well, but they're also demanding great value for money and cost effectiveness. As I'm just reading into what you said there, are we a long way from having that cost effectiveness as yet when it comes to the implication of building smart and the way it's going to impact on price?
How far away we are, it really depends on developers, and I'll explain why. It depends on how ready they are to invest the necessary capex for the built environment community to operate it and enjoy it later on. And I'll just maybe delve a bit more into that. In the real estate value chain, companies like Eltizam Asset Management, we manage and take care of assets that are already built for asset owners or for owner associations across the UAE. And so we are on the OPEX side. We're not in a position to invest the CAPEX ourselves, required to upgrade the systems, whether it's retrofitting an existing building or installing the smart systems at the time of construction. So we essentially rely on developers to either introduce smart tech in the communities that we manage or give proposals for retrofitting those buildings to include smart tech post-construction. Now, all of that depends on a business case analysis, and you have to specify how quickly you can claw back that capex, what the payback period is, as a fellow panelist mentioned earlier on. Now, I think that's the part where the big change will happen over the next 3 to 5 years, is people will be a lot more aware of the cost reductions that you can achieve by introducing smart tech. An example being artificial intelligence. The more that you can get chatbots to do, and the more that you can get, blockchain not so much, but artificial intelligence, the more that that can be done, the less you have to have facilities management people running around. Property managers answering questions to tenants, owners, residents. So that is where the real potential is for cost savings, and I think the technology is there. With the advances in AI and all the different platforms that are available, there's companies like us, facilities management, property management, that are ready to implement it. It's simply that the developers have to give a little more focus on life cycle cost of the building, and not simply how much is it going to cost to construct and how much revenue will be made at the time of sale. And so having said that, those kind of developers are probably the ones with the leasing portfolios, the guys that have to carry through the full life cycle cost. Not those developers that simply just sell and move on to the next project. So I think that's where the lead will come, whether it's a REIT, whether it's the large family businesses around the Gulf, or the large portfolios such as Wassel, that they should be the drivers of that change.
Sophia, I just want to sort of develop on from that one, because I don't want to pick on millennials, I don't want to have a go at millennials or anything like that, and this is not the case here, but given the fact that we've framed this as millennial expectations, if we're talking about a cost implication, a greater cost implication, and that craving of smart technology, that craving of that investment into sustainability, as you were talking about earlier, can millennials afford that? Are they willing to pay that extra element for the technology and the contribution to sustainability?
I think there's twofold here, actually. I think when it comes to choosing a new place to live, for example, someone looking at the property market and choosing which development they want to live in, I think there's a lot of people out there, young working professionals or people that are very conscious about health and well-being, but also very conscious about their energy demand and consumption, would pay a premium to live in an apartment or a complex that had all those additional value-added technologies. For example, I live in a Springs villa. It's nearly 12 years old now. I installed my own intelligent thermostats. Looking at a villa like that and looking at what I've paid to install my own intelligent systems, it's already paid for itself, because if I compare the DWER bill that I got last summer in comparison to now, I've saved so much money, because the energy demand reduction through cooling alone in a villa is vast. So the thermostat will learn your schedules, your daily schedules. It will follow you. There's motion detectors, so you haven't got a whole upstairs bedroom space, for example, cooling all day long when there's no one there. So if you compare the outlay, being a tenant and buying a technology and then seeing the reduction in energy costs and the bills itself, it's very, very commercially viable. So I think the technology is there. There's also the connectability or the interoperability between these technologies. So for example, if you go for a technology that has additional systems that compare and fit in together, you can look at everything from your CO2 detectors, you can look at doorbells that show you a photograph of who's at the door, and your mobile phone will show you. There's lots of value-add systems that are quite affordable, I think, for the end user. But again, I think for smart technology in residential applications, that's the low-lying fruit, because it's the actual renters and the people that are in the unit that really see the benefit through their own cost savings. So for me, if I saw if I could compare the two, a 12-year-old villa that had very old technology and a brand new one that had all of these smart features, then I would pay more to live there, because I know I would save money overall for energy reduction and water reduction.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think that the key is the awareness and hearing about examples like what you've mentioned. What's interesting, speaking about millennials, recently, if you look at a community like Dubai Marina, there are a few towers that have very high The square footages of the units that are sold and rented there are not very high. They're, I would say, on the lower end for 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. But the amenities that are on offer and the high-tech atmosphere and solutions that are there are really attracting people, and you can see it through the rents that they're able to sustain through the demand of the unit. So I think that if we talk about millennials specifically, they're not so concerned about, let's say, the square footage as they would be about amenities, smart tech, things like that.
I have taught tirelessly about integration. We've been talking about integration up here when it comes to smart technologies. I'm conscious that you out on the floor haven't had much of a say. So if anyone would like to contribute anything to the conversation, if anyone would like to ask any questions of our panelists, just raise a hand and we'll get over to you. Yes, sir.
Just a question. It's the smart technology is something amazing that we start to apply, but if we reconnect the smart technology with the previous 2 sessions talking about well-being and everything, if everything will be done by the smart technology, basically the activity of the human being will become to the minimal. You will not walk in the apartment, you will not do anything, and part of the most experience that people is gaining by doing a lot of activities like start to know how to save in costing or electricity or utility by approaching this. Now we are making the smart systems taking over all these. So basically our children and kids, they will not have this experience. They will counting on the technology to do it. So how we can get over this part? Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to pick up that one? What's our role in the future of the home? Is there any human touch at all, Sfia?
I think it's about educating children. I think we're a lot more aware now on the way that we live. We're becoming more aware on the way that we live in terms of how much waste we produce, recycling, how much water we consume. I think it's that the internal voice that you hear when you remember your mum saying, "Remember to switch the light off," and "Oh, have you left that bath running?" You know, it's removing those kind of forgetful moments, I think, and making it more automated, which it's a good and a bad thing, actually. But I think as long as we keep passing this sustainability message and awareness to our children about resources being very scarce, particularly here in Dubai with water consumption, I'm very, very cautious with my son when he wants to keep filling up his water gun. And, you know, I keep telling him we need to save water for the plants. And so I think our job is to pass that message on to the future generations on how we should be living and how we should be preserving the environment for others.
A gentleman makes a really interesting point where a lot of this technology is us taking control of the technology, taking more control of what we consume, how we consume within our environment. Is that what we want from smart homes and smart housing, or do we want the appliances to take more control? Where does that end?
I think there's an interesting discussion we had last week about energy demands dictating when appliances turn on in the house. So having this information of on a citywide network when the energy demand's reducing, and obviously passing that saving on to a domestic user. So you could load your washing machine before you go to bed, and if there's a reduction in energy demand overnight, say 3 a.m., your machine would automatically turn on, and then that's the best way of controlling the demand across a grid, I guess, because you're not having massive spikes in energy consumption. But
I would agree. And I personally think that we're more likely to see smart tech take a foothold through things like appliances, because the manufacturers will build in the technology that easily allows us to just go in an app and switch on/off appliances, rather than, as I said, rewiring your home and things like that. But and just to answer the gentleman's question from earlier on, I do think that there's a place both for smart tech and the wellness component. I just think that it's one step at a time. We're in an environment now where it's getting more and more common, at least in our communities, that customers use an app And with that app, they can get in touch with somebody from the community. They can raise a service request, book a squash court, etc. Now, the next step is integrate that with a smart home to switch off your lights or control the thermostat. And then, in addition to that, also, as technology develops, you can integrate that to tell you how many, well, that one app tells you how many steps you took that day, what's the CO2 level in your house, etc. So I think the end game is that all things are available in one place, but it's just, it'll take a couple of steps to get there.
Up against time, but we've got time for one more question. There's a gentleman there who's got his hand in the air, so we'll get a microphone over there. Yes, sir.
Yes, hello, hi. I would like to share something. I'm from one of the, probably one of the pioneers in IT, since I started programming with the holograph code card, where you push the cards down to the, to the reader and have it loaded into the machine to just start a program. And I have seen that change constantly, you know, the development of IT, controlling, until now I actually work as business development for a company who actually manufacture smart home technology. So I'm so happy to hear you say it starts with the developer. Knowledge is power. When you know how things are, when you don't have to think about the wiring, and when you don't have to, if that's already there, you will get more people installing things that you have just stated about sensors that control the lights. But end users, they just want to, millennium or not millennium, or baby boomers, or Y generations, you know, they just want to do it. They just want it to work. We have experience selling home automation technology where if you get into a whole lot of technical blah, 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 it turns them off. Yeah. So when I would train our dealers, I would ask them one of the questions, who do you think is our strongest competitor? I won't give the name of my company for fairness to others, but they would name all the other companies. And I would say, no, that's not our biggest competitor. Our biggest competitor is the on-off switch. Standard on-off. You know, just flipping it on the switch. They don't want to. They don't know. They said, and one of the reasons, because they mentioned cost. Man went to the moon in 1969. There's so many satellites and things in the sky now. Technology has come down so little that if developers in today's market would just take the standard out of their head, because every house, especially in the UAE, needs two things: lights and AC. If they wire the house and just put that as a standard and let the end user put on all the other things, sensor here, that, IoT will already be there already. So they can just do what they need to do to add to that. So my message, which I will be going to the cityscape, to the exhibition, I'm going to be asking to speak to the design. I'm going to be preaching that one word that you said. See what let me prove to you that the cost of wiring a house smart, as opposed to the standard contractor who wants to put in all the back boxes and the switches and everything that can drive up the cost. Let me prove to you, and that little bit of percentage that might be costly, but it does so much more, and you say so quickly give you the ROI, it would be incredible. So I just wanted to share that to you, that thank you for bringing this forward, that more than somebody else, I thought I was in this little island, that let the developers do it. Start it. Think about it, developers. Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you. Thanks for your thoughts there. And thanks to our panelists as well. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both up here. One quick one from me before we go, because you're the experts in the field, so I love cooking. One thing I can't cook is rice. Give me a timeline. When will Alexa be able to cook my rice from me whilst I'm on my way home? How long am I looking at?
She can now control the microwave.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
okay.
so,
So she can whack it in the microwave and do it there. Perfect, that's all I need.
Just-
Sophia, bless you. Thanks very much indeed to you. And Yura, thank you very much indeed to you.